If you want to use the Hebrew Jewish calendar, understand Jewish holidays, or find your way through the Bible, following verses and chapters in Hebrew, you need to understand basic Gematria. Gematria. I'm going to say it in Hebrew, Gematria. This ancient system has been hiding in plain sight for over 2,000 years, and I'm going to decode it for you in the next few minutes. Shalom, I'm Inbal. I'm a native Israeli, best-selling Hebrew author and educator, and I teach very differently, using methods I developed specifically for how your English-speaking brain actually learns a language, in Hebrew specifically. A lot of you have been asking me to dedicate a video to Gematria because you keep seeing numbers instead of letters and you're not sure what it means or what to do with it. So today, I'm breaking down the essentials of Gematria, this ancient numerical system that's been part of Jewish culture for millennia. No fluff, just what you actually need to know in order to function in Hebrew. Gematria is the system where every Hebrew letter has a numerical value. In English, as in Hebrew, we have separate symbols for letters, A, B, C, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, and for numbers, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But in Hebrew, in some cases, we use letters and numbers just like we do in English, but in other cases, we use numbers instead of letters and letters instead of numbers. Today, Gematria is used almost exclusively in the Jewish culture, and specifically in Israel, but it's been around for almost 2,000 years. So let's start with the basics. The numerical value each letter in the Hebrew alphabet gets. Now, there is more than one approach to Gematria, and we are going to use the most common and basic one that will actually allow you to find your way through the Jewish Hebrew calendar, verses and chapters in the Bible and other books in Hebrew, Jewish holidays, and other practical uses. But know that there is a large number of different ways to approach Gematria beyond the common one I'm about to show you. The first 9 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, Aleph to Tet, each get a numerical value of 1 to 9 based on their order in the Hebrew alphabet. So Aleph is 1, Bet is 2, all the way to Tet, which is 9. Now, if you don't know the Hebrew alphabet, I will link below my Hebrew 1, 2, and 3. They complete all your reading and writing skills. You will know all the letters and everything you need to know in order to read and write in Hebrew, both biblical and modern. Go to the link in the description, order a copy of Hebrew 1, 2, and 3. That is all you need, and you can complete the entire program in days. So we talked about Aleph to Tet, 1 to 9. Then letters Yod to Tzadi each get a numerical value of from 10 to 90 based on their order in the Hebrew alphabet. So Yod is 10, Kaf is 20, Lamed is 30, and so on, all the way to Tzadi, that is 90. And finally, the last 4 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, Kof to Tav, get a numerical value of hundreds. So Kof is 100, Resh is 200, Shin is 300, and Tav is 400. Using this common and basic approach to Gematria, we do not address with or without a dagesh, or letters that change at the end of the word. Elements that I teach you in Hebrew 1, 2, and 3 because you do need to know them in order to be able to read and write anything in biblical and modern Hebrew. So every Hebrew letter is also a number. But how do we do Gematria math based on the letters? For 1 to 9, we just use the single letter with that numerical value. For 1, we use the letter Aleph. For 2, we use the letter Bet, etc. But after 10, it jumps to 20. So how do we represent 11 to 19 using letters? Using this approach to Gematria, we add. So for example, for 11, we add 10, which is Yod, to Aleph, which is 1. 10 plus 1, 11, Yod plus Aleph, Yod Aleph. Yod Aleph is 11. For 12, we add 10 plus 2, Yod plus Bet. Yod Bet is 12. But we have a twist somewhere between 10 and 20, and it happens with numbers 15 and 16. Because 15 is a combination of Yod and He, and 16 is a combination of Yod and Vav, spelling the name of God or part of it, we do not use these combinations for 15 and 16. We do not use Yod He or Yod vav. Instead, for 15, we use tet vav, and for 16, we use tet zayin. Then 17 goes back to normal. It is yod zayin, because yod is 10 and zayin is 7. 10 plus 7 equals 17. Yod zayin. So if Hebrew letters are also numbers, how do you know when you're reading a word or a letter versus a number? There's a marking system. In Hebrew writing, whether in handwritten form or printed, when letters are meant to represent numbers, we add 2 marks to indicate that. The first is the gerish. When we have a single letter representing a number, we will see the gerish to the left of that letter, because Hebrew is right to left. So the gerish will appear to the left of that letter. The gerish looks like an apostrophe sign. This is how we will see aleph, knowing it is representing the number 1. This is how we will see bet, knowing it is representing the number 2. For 2 or more letters representing numbers, we use girshaim, and we place them in between the 2 last letters. So this is how we will see the number 11 represented by the letters yod aleph. This is how we know we're looking at 15 represented by the letters tet vav. And this is how we know we're looking at the current Hebrew year, tav shin Pe Vav. If you see those marks, you're looking at numbers, not words. And if Girish and Girshaim are new to you, check out the link right here. It is my 3-part video teaching you all the markings you will come across in Hebrew. So once you finish Hebrew 1, 2, and 3, these 3 videos will teach you Girish, Girshaim, and all the markings that you will come across, so nothing surprises you and you know exactly how to read anything you come across in Hebrew and in Israel. So why does it all actually matter? There are 3 practical uses of Gematria that make it essential when you want not to get lost in Hebrew and in Israel. First is reading the Hebrew Jewish calendar. In Israel today, most calendars you will find in the store or online are a hybrid, a mix of the Gregorian calendar, January to December, and the Jewish Hebrew calendar. And this is how, in most cases, the 2 are mixed together. Most calendars show each day indicating both the Gregorian day in numbers 1 to 31 and the Hebrew Jewish day showing the month indicating the Gregorian month and the Hebrew Jewish month. And most calendars start in September, which is when Rosh Hashanah is, starting the Jewish Hebrew year, but following September. So it is a very unique, interesting mix of both. Let's see how we read the most common calendar you will find everywhere in Israel. You will see the Hebrew Jewish month, Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, etc. And the days go from the first day of the Hebrew Jewish month, which is Aleph, in Hebrew, Rosh Chodesh, head of the month, beginning of the month, then Bet, then Gimel, all the way to the last day of that month. Now remember, 15 and 16 of each month will be Tet Vav and Tet Zayin. So let's look at today's calendar. Today is Daled Be Cheshvan, 4th of the month of Cheshvan. Sometimes you will see it written Daled Cheshvan, and other times Daled Becheshvan. And the Jewish Hebrew year is also in Gematria. We are in year Tav Shin Pe Vav, to the creation of the world. Sometimes you will see the Hebrew Jewish years written with the letter He before it. He, Tav Shin Pe Vav, and in other times it will only be Tav Shin Pe Vav, which is actually the way most Israelis use it. But if you see a He before it, I want you to know that it is just an addition of that letter to the year, which is always 4 letters, with the Girshaim sign in between the 2 last letters of the year. So let's do the math for the year that we are in. Tav Shin Pe Vav. Hebrew years are always in the 5000s because we are in the 6th millennium to the creation of the world, and the thousands digits, the 5000, is typically dropped in everyday writing. Tav is 400, Shin is 300, Pe is 80, and Vav is 6. We add them together, and the total is 786, adding the 5000 that was dropped because we are in the 5000s to the creation of the world, and we get the Hebrew Jewish year, 5786, year 5786. That is the Jewish Hebrew year that started this Rosh Hashanah in September, and we will see it almost in every calendar we can find in Israel. Tav Shin Pei Vav or He Tav Shin Pei Vav. Hebrew Jewish years will always be written using Gematria in letters, never in numbers. Understanding Gematria also explains Jewish holidays that are named after their date. Tu B'Av, for example, the Jewish Day of Love, is Tet Vav B'Av, 15 in the month of Av. So why don't we say Tet Vav B'Av and we say Tu B'Av? Because we use the letter Vav in its vowel sound, which I teach you in Hebrew 3, simplifying the Nikud vowel system and the vowel letters, which I will link below. So Tu B'Av is 15 in Av. Tu B'Shvat, another Jewish holiday, is 15 in the month of Shvat. And Lag Ba'omer is Lamed Gimel in Omer, day 33 from the beginning of the counting of the Omer. Lag Ba'omer, Lamed Gimel Be'omer. Understanding Gematria is essential if you want to find your way in the Hebrew Bible, but not only, because many books in Hebrew indicate chapters using Gematria and letters rather than numbers. And when we talk about the Torah, the Hebrew Bible, chapters and verses are all in letters using Gematria. So Bereshit, Aleph, Aleph is how you will find Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. Tehillim, Kaf Gimel, Aleph is how you will find Psalms chapter 23, verse 1. If you cannot decipher this, you can't navigate the Hebrew Bible. Now, here's where it gets mysterious. By the 1st century CE, over 2,000 years ago, there is explicit evidence that Gematria was already used in Jewish texts. The tools were available. The system existed. So here's the question scholars ask. If the desire was there, could hidden messages have been encoded into the Jewish Bible, the Hebrew Bible, using Gematria? Think about it. The scribes who wrote these texts knew this system. They could have embedded numerical values, connections, secret meanings. Some say they did, some say they didn't. But the fact remains, the system is ancient, sophisticated, and has been hiding in plain sight for millennia. Whether you believe the messages were intentional or you see them as beautiful coincidences, the connections are there. Let me give you some classic examples, connections that have been taught for centuries. The first connects love with oneness. The Hebrew word for love is ahava. It is comprised of aleph, he, bet, he. We don't address with or without a dagesh in Gematria. The total numerical value of the word ahava, love, is 13. That is the same numerical value of the word one in Hebrew, echad. Both words total 13. The Jewish teaching is that both are intertwined, love and oneness. When you truly love, you become one. The next example is probably my favorite. It appears in the Talmud, and until this day is a very common phrase that most Israelis know. It is nichnas yain yetza sod. In came wine, out came secret. Talking about how when people drink alcohol, they usually are more prone to share things that they wouldn't have or they shouldn't have. In came wine, out came secret. Nichnas yain, yetza sod. The numerical value of the word yain, wine, and sod, secret, are the same. Both equal 70. The Talmud says wine's ability to loosen the tongue isn't just physical, it's encoded in the numbers themselves. The next example is embedded in Purim. Purim. If you don't know the story of Purim or Purim, the villain is Haman and the hero is Mordechai. One of the commandments of Purim is to drink at a festival meal to the point where you can't tell the difference between cursed Haman, the villain, and blessed Mordechai, the hero. The sentence in Hebrew, Arur Haman, cursed is Haman, and the sentence Baruch Mordechai, blessed is Mordechai, totals the same numerical value, 502. The point of Purim drinking, to reach the point where opposites blur, because numerically they are the same. The last example is probably the most common one and practical one. If you ever saw people giving gifts or donations in multiples of 18 or multiples of chai, which equals 18, 10 and 8, chai, it is because chai is the Hebrew word for alive. And you probably know it from Am Israel Chai. The people of Israel live. Am Israel Chai. So you will see people gifting or donating in multiples of 18 because it is considered a number of luck, fortune, symbolizing life. But here's the critical thing to know about Gematria. It doesn't connect randomly each word, phrase, or sentence that has the same numerical value. It is quite the opposite. Scholars believe that when the connection is there, the numbers will indicate it, not the other way around. So don't just connect random things that have the same numerical value. That is not how Gematria works. It is actually much more sophisticated and wiser than that. And here's where Gematria connects to something much deeper. Hebrew is considered the original language, pure and powerful. Many believe that Hebrew letters are not just symbols, they are containers. They channel energy, perhaps more than any other language. That is why it is not surprising that in the Jewish culture, there is immense emphasis placed on words, the power of language, what you say, what you don't say, and the meaning, the intention behind what you say and the specific words that you choose, because Hebrew words and Hebrew names resonate. When you speak a Hebrew word with intention, you're not just producing sounds, you're channeling the energy that that word carries, especially if you say it with full intention. And that is why I use Hebrew and Gematria for my affirmations. Now, I've never shared this before, so I'm letting you in on a very private thing that I've been doing for a few years now. I didn't learn it anywhere. I never went to a Kabbalah course. This is not professional advice. It's just something I do because I believe in it. So whenever I need to choose characters that can be numbers for something, instead of using random numbers or numbers I remember, I use Gematria. I think of something I'm working towards or want to have or want to maintain, like health, joy, guidance, success, whatever it is. I phrase that sentence in Hebrew in the present tense as if it is happening right now, not as if I wish that it will happen or I wish for it. It is happening right now. I am this and that. In Hebrew, I calculate using online calculators the Gematria value of that sentence, and I use that number. I will link below the Gematria calculator that I use. It's obviously in Hebrew, but it's very easy to use. You just drop your Hebrew word or sentence, you hit calculate, and it shows you the number, the total numerical value of that sentence that you can use. So once you have your foundation in Hebrew, which I teach you in my programs, Hebrew 1, 2, and 3 for reading and writing, practically speaking Hebrew for speaking and understanding, you can do that as well, because Hebrew letters, names, words are considered containers that channel energy. When you write your intention in Hebrew and connect it to a number, you're anchoring that energy in a tangible way. The energy is the message, the letters and words are the containers. So let's bring this back to practical use. Now you know how to read Hebrew dates, years, and Jewish holidays. When you see Tu B'Av or Tu B'Shvat, you know exactly what that means. You can now follow and find your way in the Tanakh, Torah, Talmud, and other Hebrew books, following the chapters and the verses using Gematria. And Israelis use Gematria all the time. When we want to say it's because of two things. First, this, and then that, one very common way that we will say it in Hebrew will be, well, it's because of two things. Aleph, because of this, and Bet, because of that. You can now use words or sentences that matter to you, calculating their Gematria value and anchoring that affirmation, that energy into your life. When you understand basic Gematria, you start seeing Hebrew differently. It's not just a language, it's a system, an ancient, wise sophisticated system, an ancient code from thousands of years ago. These are the essentials that you need to know about Gematria. And if you want to dive deeper into Hebrew, I will link below my programs. I have 2 programs. Each one is the only one you need for your goal. For reading and writing, all you need is Hebrew 1, 2, and 3. I will link below how to order them. They each come with a free course dedicated to that book where you get my feedback and my support, all with lifetime access. And Practically Speaking Hebrew is the most comprehensive online program for speaking and understanding, equivalent to 4 university semesters. Only I teach it using my unique methods that I developed to work with how your English speaking brain actually learns a language, in Hebrew in particular. So all you need is one program with lifetime access to the program and to me, to ask me any question, to get my feedback, recording yourself with each lesson in the program, constructing sentences on your own, mix and matching your own words, and getting my feedback on your Hebrew. So you never get stuck and you never have to guess, am I doing this well or not? No guessing, no overwhelm, no learning on your own. You get me as your teacher for life. I will link my programs below. And if you like this video, I would really appreciate if you could hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider doing so. Every Sunday, not only do I post a new YouTube video, but I send out an email to people on my list. You want to get on that list, trust me. So I will link it below as well. Come and join my community. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. נתראה בסרטון הבא.